Good morning.
Morning, everybody. How are you? Good morning, good morning, good morning. As I was just saying over on Instagram, you may want to leave this live or this podcast because what you have here is two smug fuckers. Show your
Yes.
smug face. Do your smug sound for the podcast. Because we were in the gym at 7:15, which meant we set our alarm at 6:30.
But we didn't look smug because I caught a glimpse of myself in the reflection of my running machine.
No,
and
once
I
we
looked
were there,
desperately sad.
Yeah, we were just a bag of shit once we
Bag
got
of
there.
shit. It was like a sack of potatoes trying to move along a sort of conveyor belt. That's what
But I had my alarm. So the alarm went off at 6:30 and it was on the wrong alarm. Somebody's changed it. It was the circus.
I know. I felt like Dumbo was going to walk
it was
in.
so awful. Anyway, my heart pounding so hard. It was like frightening. So I did. And the reason I'm getting to this is we've been talking a lot here because it's really helping our daughters as well about the deep belly breaths. That yoga can be simply 3 or 4 belly breaths in the morning before you get up. So my heart was going like this. Just let me say this. And I said to Mark, okay, right, together, just breathe in for 4, hold, and then breathe out for 6. And do you know what? Because I had my hand on my heart, I could feel my heart just coming right down. And it was just, it's just such a tool that you have available to yourself all the time for anxiety.
Yeah, it's odd. When I hear you doing your breathing stuff, you sound like you're up to all sorts of weird stuff. Share with them what your bum can do.
My bum lifted 90 kilos today.
Now, when you say that, your bum can't lift 90 kilos because my arms can only lift 12.5 kilos each.
Well, this is why this machine is so good, because it completely isolates just your butt. So you can't use your back, you can't use your thighs, so you can't use the other things that you might in the machine. So what you're doing is you're lying on your back and then you're like thrusting up. So the thrust up is 90 kilos. How much do you weigh?
I don't know.
How much do you think he weighs?
12 and a half stone, which for me is
2.2 kilos. 2.2 kilos to a stone.
But muscle
we don't know what to do next
weighs
with these
more.
numbers.
What do we get your measuring stick out?
What do we do once we know it's 2.2?
I don't know. Why do you ask these stupid questions?
Because I want to see if I could lift you with just my buttocks.
You couldn't. And how would you lift me with your buttocks?
I'd lie on my back, put you on my pelvis, and lift you up.
Sounds good. Okay.
Now he's interested.
No, I'm very interested. Could you do it the other way around? Could you lie on your front and raise your buttocks?
No.
Sorry, this is too much.
But anyway,
everyone's eating their breakfast.
But anyway, the gym's good today.
Just want to share with you, baby carrots.
Oh my God. Have we got a show for you this Saturday on the Curly Cooks?
Yes,
and
a corker.
Tinned curly carrots.
Have we got a surprise?
Tinned carrots. We have.
We've got a surprise. That'll be fun. There's a surprise. Now, before we go anywhere, some of the news today, obviously the biggest news is the fact that Huw Edwards has now been named as the BBC star celebrity newsreader at the centre of the what they're calling the teen sex photo scandal.
Oh God, well.
This has so many varied facets to it that's quite interesting. And every time I think about it, obviously lots of people have been saying the name, why can't we say the name? Why can't we, all this kind of stuff. It's really, it just felt right because he and it was his wife who actually revealed it was him in an announcement, wasn't it, about 6 o'clock yesterday?
First of all, how did you feel when you read that? Kirsty Wade, thank you for that. I'll read that out afterwards. How did you feel when you read that statement from his wife?
I just felt huge sorrow and compassion for her.
And him.
Well, hang on, yeah. But I think this is important. This is important. You've got to hold everything to the same standard, I think. And we've had 2 incredibly high-profile cases where there are increasingly now, given the further allegations that are coming out at the BBC about Huw Edwards' conduct with other members of staff, there are incredible parallels between the 2. And I think it's been interesting how there have been, in different ways, different responses to the Philip Schofield and different responses to this one, and different coverage. and different sort of people in the media have taken different approaches to different stories, and I'm intrigued and I'm interested about what that's all about. About where are the similarities, where are the differences, and all that kind of stuff. And I think for me, when I read that or saw the statement, the first thought was her and the kids.
Oh.
That was the first thought. And I think the reason for that is because I remember feeling, and I'm not in any way saying that this is what is happening, but I remember there being a sense that when the mental health issue aspect of the Philip Schofield story came forward, there was a feeling that this was a way of kind of closing down the discussion, closing down the ability to talk about things, etc., etc. And the optics on this mental health aspect, if you like, he seems more vulnerable, and he seems in a worse place. I mean, I don't know if you've seen the photographs on the front. Let me show you the photographs on the front of the papers. These are the front. So
he's spoken about his depression before.
And he has spoken about his depression before, and it was his wife coming out, which to me suggests, what do people think about the extent of what mental health crisis he's in? Now, I went to the worst case scenario. When I saw it, my first thought was, oh my God, he's tried to commit suicide. That was my first thought. I thought, this is a man who has talked about depression and hasn't been able to, and I think this is an important distinction, wasn't able to sit in a highly controlled set studio system with lights and do 3 interviews to the Sun and to someone else and to someone else. Didn't have the capacity to do that. So yeah. I think there is a difference. I think there appears to be a difference. Someone's here saying, I've heard that he has bipolar. But if we look at the front of the newspaper, it was obviously the Huw Edwards in hospital. And the fact
that the wife said that it was only on Thursday that he was first told anything about the allegations. I don't know why. I don't know what that means.
I don't know how. I don't know
why.
I don't know why that didn't ring true to me.
Oh no, I think every word of what she said will be true. But I think I don't know why.
But maybe he hasn't told her that he knows. I mean, why would he?
Yeah, but I found it interesting that was put into a very sort of sashimi statement. It was just that every line will have been thought about. So why was that line in?
Yeah,
what was the relevance of that both she and he felt needed to be put in?
Yeah.
Is that because presenters are saying you should have spoken up and all of this, and it's like it's new to him and he's reeling, and
I think
my first feelings when I read it was I went immediately to the place of being the wife of somebody with depression, and if it's true, if he has bipolar, and I felt just absolutely panic stricken for her. Because like you, I thought, does this mean he's tried to take his life? That he's in this hospital.
Well, someone saying they perhaps got him into hospital because she worried he was going to.
Well, yeah. So all my sympathy, obviously, was my. I just felt heartbroken for her, for her children. We have a friend, don't we, that knows who through this week when we've all known who it was, obviously it's weird, can't actually even say the name now. We've got a friend that we see quite regularly who knows her, the wife and the kids, and taught the kids and all of this, and said, what a charming family they are, how everybody in the area, there's South Londoners, how in the area he's very well loved, he's and very charming and polite and all of this sort of stuff. So having a bit of that, I think, as well, I think, I just felt really sad for the family and the children. I mean, I just can't imagine. And I feel very scared for where his mental health is. And then, to find out today that the son can actually, and I also immediately thought, I don't think this family will sue the son.
That's what I
thought. That's what I thought, because I thought they are in. No, the only reason I'm bringing that bit in is it just feels so fragile for them. That's what I thought.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, but I think you're right. I think all of the stuff around the son and the legality and the story, and I think if I'm really honest, I'm not a big fan of Nick Ferrari, but I think he's been dealing with the story quite well on really well on LBC in terms of how he's approached it. Stuart Hannah, for the wife to say this and for him to be hospitalised, clearly a suicide attempt was undertaken. That's really the only reason for hospitalisation.
We can't know.
We don't know that. I think the reason I kind of jumped to that conclusion, Nanny Di, I know me and you were talking about it last night, is because of course we have close-up experience of how these sort of hospitalizations happen, and when they happen in such an acute fashion, what they generally pivot around is either suicidal thoughts, tendencies, or attempts. So
but to be honest,
that was my
lows. You're really lows.
Yeah, but that was my first thought.
How scary that was when we first really discovered you had bipolar, and how low you were, and me just being frantic about it. So I kind of just felt that franticness.
But I suppose all of that stuff, all of the optics on it felt very different for me, because I keep trying to think, I keep looking at the two stories. I don't know why. I keep wanting to think, are we dealing with this is everyone dealing with this in the same way that they dealt with the Philip Schofield? Faith Goodman makes an interesting point. I think Philip Schofield is different from Huw. Philip Schofield, we don't know this, so I'm not going to suggest it. There's the possibility, or I think some of the question marks revolve around whether he potentially groomed a young man. But Huw just went on a dating site, not like Philip Schofield groomed or picked out a particular young man. And I do think that's an important point. And I think I think this is where the police not finding any criminality is a really, really important thing here. Obviously, there's been no criminal investigation into anything around the Philip Schofield story. And will there be? Could there be? Is there room to be? But I think that's where the question marks sit around, as I've repeatedly said, not just the abuse of power and what happened between two consenting adults once he was at ITV. It's what happened prior in that story that's of interest. That's what it all pivots around. And with just let me just finish this thought. And then on this story, regardless of whether it's in keeping with your taste and decency, whether it's right, and I think there is a question mark around the fact that he is the face of BBC News. He's grilled politicians, and do we have a right to? Should this story be in the public realm? I think it should be, absolutely. I think the fact that he didn't go looking, he hasn't groomed these people. It might not be something that we like, and the police have obviously looked into it and discovered that he hasn't created or been involved in the exchange of images that were made by people who are underage. So if there is no criminal activity, there is a clarity around that there isn't, for me, around the other case.
My thing has always been, like I said the other day, when everybody said, oh God, everyone at ITV knew and they didn't say anything, I would never talk about somebody or something like that when it is rumour. And the difference here is we've got a tabloid newspaper that have put a story out without a name, right? And very quickly there was then a reply from the supposed victim saying this didn't happen, right? Philip came out and admitted that he had lied time and time and time again to friends, to colleagues, to right across the board, right? So as soon as he said, and he was standing there, then we had the evidence. And I just think, that what's happened here is stories been chucked to the wolves and people have just been able to tear at it without actually anybody knowing the facts for sure. Apart from the fact that the person that was supposed victim came forward and apparently WhatsApped the Sun before the story went out and said this didn't happen.
Yes.
And that's why it's not the same thing for me.
But where it's becoming more complicated is subsequent to all of this, further allegations are coming through about messages that have allegedly been sent to more junior members of staff by Huw Edwards. And I think
that's going to be a very different thing, because then we're talking about the abuse of power in the workplace, which I'm really, really against. Yeah. And I think we need to crack down on. But again, we don't know yet. We don't know the truth of this. So we can't stand as judge and jury in a kangaroo court. We just have to wait and see.
I think the Sun, I thought at first, perhaps the Sun made a mistake and misjudged it. These organisations don't do it. What I do know, and this is where the Sun could be in all sorts of kind of potential hot property and dodgy territory and what have you, is that whilst
hot water,
that's it. That whilst they said that they in no way ever suggested there was any criminality that occurred. I can't find the article. I'll pull them all up.
Yeah. I know this.
On one of their online on one of the stories they published online, they said that he could face criminal charges and X amount of years in prison, which is an inference of potential criminality.
But, now this is very interesting because a friend of mine, he's a journalist, said the online papers are the Wild West, right? And it's really different from the print papers where the lawyers go through everything with a fine tooth comb. So you will often see the most awful and bizarre stories. I mean, like sometimes I've seen things put online that I absolutely know weren't said on Loose Women, not by me, by other people. And it's like, how can they do that? Now, and journalists, different journalists have said to me, oh, you couldn't do that in the paper. So that's really interesting. So maybe this will be a moment where there can be better controls on the online newspapers, because that needs to happen.
And there are a couple of lawyers looking into that.
Because a lot of them aren't proper journalists. Well, they're not. They're just not.
Well, no, but if you read how they're written, they're not even written.
They're not even written properly.
I think it's AI, actually, to be honest. Claire McNabb, at least Schofield came out and admitted it. Did he? After 4 years of not admitting it? Huw Edwards never, resulting in his colleagues having to distance themselves from the whole thing by saying it wasn't me.
And here was why we have the line from the wife that he was told only on Thursday. And I think it's really important that we're mindful that we're now not going to start saying he's thrown his colleagues under the bus, he's da-da-da. There's a horrible tweet today from Mr. Fox. What is wrong with him?
Lawrence Fox.
And we just got to be mindful of that, because we don't know what the timeline is here. You know, we don't know anything. It's still tabloid papers and rumor. But I this is where I get really like, because apparently I was listening to the radio this morning, and Cliff Richard's lawyer, the one who took the BBC to court over the terrible helicopter business and all of that, said that there very well could be no case to answer from the Sun, because the Sun will say they've never named him. His wife named him. Now,
but they
how
threw red meat to the
disingenuous
wolves.
is that?
That's
they
point.
Went like this. To us that they see as the peasants, and let the peasants like rise up and bring the body. It's scary. It's really scary.
Zoe Griffiths-Brown, I really don't like that these men, when found out to have done indecent things with young people, then claim to be suicidal. It disgusts me. Now, that you go to the heart of something that is really tricky around this, because, really again, the parallels in the two stories are the way in which mental health has been thrown forward as, in a sense, an explanation or a way to kind of hold at arm's length any further inquiry or public kind of, process of kind of invasion and what have you. This is the difficulty with this. You've got no way of being able to unpack the extent to which, that mental health thing is real, the layers of it, the levels of it, how much we have to hide behind it, how much can you hide behind it, how sensitive should one be?
Can you imagine anyone's mental health not suffering, who's had that level of respect? I'm just listening to all the different clips, all the things that we know.
No, I agree, but you can see what Zoe Griffiths-Brown is saying.
No, I totally can. I totally can. And I think it's a really dangerous moment right now, because I can understand why people would say that, but right here, right now, you have to go with what you're being told.
What did Lawrence Fox say? Lawrence Fox said something along the lines of a real man would have stood in front of the cameras and said it for himself, rather than getting his wife to roll out and do it on his behalf. I mean,
and I just think if you don't know actually what the situation is, and when Mark's been very low with his depression, thank God everything is stable for a long time now, that's not an option that you can just stand up. That's, again, the misunderstanding of depression. It's like, it's a black hole of which you can't get out.
Quickly, Kim Lakides, why not just look online at porn? He just wanted to control. Well,
we might know that. That might be what he's done.
This is not my suggestion. This is someone who rang into the radio whilst I was running like a sack of potatoes on my running machine. And someone rang in, really, really sort of young, intelligent, witty kind of young man, and he phoned up and said, look. I mean, it is so strange. His suggestion on this
and
phone...
this was on the point of whether this is an interest of interest.
Well, yeah, Nick Ferrari was drawing the distinction between, is this a story of... this story is of interest to the public, but is it necessarily in the public's interest
for it to be reported? That was the question he posed.
Yeah, and I think that you can ask that question about almost every single bit of salacious news in the in the public realm. I think lots of people have been on the radio, barristers, media experts, all talking about. I think because of his status, who he is, who he was interviewing, the fact that he was a journalist holding other politicians to account for their own behavior and stuff like that, I think it has to be something that's not only of interest to the public, but also of public interest. It's also a publicly funded broadcaster, etc. But no, the thing that this person rang in and said was, look, this is potentially no more complicated than but played out tragically, a middle-aged man going through a midlife crisis who will have been hunting for potentially gay porn, found himself and found some capacity to have some involvement on a dating app or on some kind of live link up or whatever, and got in too deep. And for this person who rang in, they were suggesting that the money side of it was potentially the sign of some kind of blackmailing situation. Which, can you imagine then what kind of a sort
But also the point that he was making is, do we just need to rethink this?
Yeah. Well, he said he thinks he should go back to presenting, and we should all rethink the way in which we, things have changed. Ethical standard. This person who rang in said, I think what he should do if he could get to the right mental health state is come out and say, yes, okay, I abused my position. I've disappointed people. I've betrayed my wife.
But has he abused his position? Let's just park at the moment the latest allegations, because we don't know at the moment what those are.
Yeah.
So let's park the allegations. And if it turns out that what he's done has just gone to completely legal porn sites, watch porn, download porn, whatever, look to OnlyFans, and that's all legal. Why should he lose his job?
Well, that was what this person was suggesting.
What he was saying.
It sits at that stage, and what we're hearing coming out of the BBC isn't true about his behaviour with other people. Should we have a situation now where this kind of thing? It doesn't mean that you're thrown to the wolves and your life is completely over.
But if you are, if you are on the news and you have to question politicians who have done the same, you become more the story than the politician. Do you remember when the Sky, what's her name, the woman with the red hair, broke lockdown rules?
Yeah.
And then she came back, she was having to question the politicians about lockdown. And it was weird. She was sitting there the whole time going, this is a bit awkward. So that's why I think he will never be able to read the news again. But his other programs, why not? If he's not broken the law, why not?
Jan Ben, what about the underage victims? Well, this is the case.
We don't know that yet.
Well, we don't know that. Also, the police have investigated it, and thus far, okay, they may not have investigated every accusation yet, but thus far there aren't any underage victims. No. I mean, it might be that it's incredibly close to what many of us would find distasteful or not right, or kind of a bit strange, or morally a bit dubious. But it at this stage, it's not. It's not proven.
They have looked at the evidence that the son have got, haven't they? So it's like, what can we do if the police have said that nothing illegal's happened? So why should anyone lose their job if nothing illegal's happened?
The lady Lexi, when the accusers are on OnlyFans or dating apps, it puts a different slant on it, doesn't it? It's complicated. It's complicated. It is complicated.
There was somebody that rang up on another radio station and said, what if this person had an OnlyFans account and they were 17 at the time and they don't want that to be known because their OnlyFans account would be taken down? So there's just so many. The world is just such a different place, isn't it?
Stuart Hannah, blackmail 200%.
Yeah, a lot of people are saying but a lot of people, younger people just don't really see why people get so aerated about porn and about this. Is it a generational thing where this has just become part of life? As long as there's nobody underage and as long as there's nothing at work, then all he's done is something legal that is mucky. But
I think what's confused with Andrew Crash, who was 17 years old. I think they're men, the people involved. I mean, you want to say victims. They're saying they weren't 17 years old. I mean, this is the complicated. I mean, one has to try. I mean, do you trust the police? Have the police looked into it properly? I mean, as you say, were they 17, but they said they were 18?
Well, it's not me. It's just somebody rang up and said that on a radio station. I thought, oh, God, that's interesting. That's what I mean. There's so many. That's why I hate that this story was just thrown out like this, just for everybody. Because listen, we can't help ourselves as human beings. This is, of course, a fascinating story. It's like that media lawyer was saying this morning. It's got everything that you want to fascinate
it's float
the public.
Headlines as you do.
You know, you've got an unnamed star. You've got, sexual inappropriate possible behaviour. Of course, people are going to be interested in it. But as you say, is it of public interest?
And on that point, I think it is of public interest precisely because of who he is.
Because he reads the news. Because he's a news reader. Yeah. And if he was a radio DJ, if he was would it be the same? If he's doing nothing illegal?
Yeah.
It's like, are we going to start knocking on everybody's door that's on the telly and checking that they don't like porn?
Well, okay. So let's assume. I'm just floating all of the front covers. This is the photograph of him and his wife, I think, as they were going into wherever he's receiving his mental health. Daisy Hayes says, read the Times this morning. Non-underage, yes, harsh on his wife and kids, but if these men are happy to send photos, that's their business.
Well, this is it.
Yeah.
This is it. At the moment, that's all that we know for sure, because the police have said there's nothing illegal. So.
Yeah, and I tell you one thing about these photos: they don't feel as staged as the ones I seem to remember in another major story.
They don't know that that's him going into the facility.
No, we don't. But this is a photograph. But these photos, I think, have all come from yesterday.
Oh God, he's poor. Oh. Well, just, you know what? And if it is as well that he just has this thing where he is gay and he's been married and he's used porn,
Lucy Chadbolt, another dead cat. I mean, lots of people are saying this is a huge distraction.
Where is Boris's phone? What happened with George Osborne? This is what you've said all week.
That photo was around last week, was it, Kathy?
This is what you've said all week, Mark. It's like, why did they need to give us this red meat? What were they hiding?
I think it's less than Boris Johnson. I think it was more interesting that it landed the same day as the
George Osborne
story. Look, just going on. Let's assume that and we'll move on quickly. Let's assume that the other stories or allegations don't come to any kind of fruition. And as you say, this all pivots around maybe other people who are of age, that he's had photos, sent photos to, received photos from, all this kind of stuff. I think he could not necessarily read the news again, but I just think in terms of his mental health, I think there would be a way back for him to just stand and own it. He would have to own it. I don't mean that in a kind of man-up way, in the way that Lawrence Fox is wittering on. I mean, I do think with the support of his family, and maybe it is the end of his relationship with his wife in some capacity, I don't know. But if he was to just sit...
How do we know? She might have known all along. We just don't know.
Exactly.
These are people's
But I do think there's a way. And I think as long as, but again, if there has been an abuse of power, if he has been, sending sort of lewd and inappropriate messages to people at work, then that has to be dealt with, absolutely. Like as in the case with the inquiry at the ITV.
But every single corporation, if you've got allegations from somebody that's in a position of power, or anyone, it's not just show business, it's anything. But again, we need to just wait and see, because we don't know.
Sean Thomas, we can see your messages. Okay, well, I mean that's the Huw Edwards story. So obviously, a huge speculation comes from that. I just want to quickly, just before we go to the toxicity, summer body toxicity. Did anyone else see the story of Ben Wallace, the defense secretary, scolding Ukraine, saying we're not Amazon? This kind of put me in mind of Biden losing his shit a little bit with Zelensky. And I just think we're in a curious place where I think, I don't know. I don't know. When I heard that, I just thought, is there this expectation that the West just keeps keeping on? Is it something, or as someone quite rightly said as they rang into one of the radio shows this morning, Zelensky can't keep saying thank you all the time.
Exactly. And it's like Rishi Sunak said, his gratitude is just incredible. And don't forget, these are borders, what are going to be the next borders? They are fighting a war for everyone. They are. And, and I was listening to so what is Ben Wallace? He's not
Defense Secretary.
I was listening to an ex-defence secretary, said, make no bones about it, Ben Wallace is an extraordinary defence secretary. And, you know, people, Europe, America, we have, he said, the thing that worries me is that people will start to forget that actually they are fighting a war for the whole of the rest of Europe, because there isn't necessarily anything to stop the madman that is Putin thinking that he can come right through Europe. So the weariness, you know, the Americans, God, he said the figure, the amount of money they're giving is just unbelievable.
Well, if Trump gets in, that's over. So,
and that's a massive problem. Yeah, it massive problem. And the Americans are getting fed up because, you know, a lot of the European countries aren't, you know, handing over what their promise was, and it feels like a long way away from them. So, you know, we got to be careful. Yeah,
we discovered today that we still pay 50 million in aid to the Chinese.
To China.
Okay,
I mean,
body
Jesus
toxicity.
Christ. We haven't got time.
Haven't got time for summer body toxicity.
Well, we could do like 10 minutes. It's just that I just can see everywhere. So Mark sent me this story this morning about armpits.
Yeah, what is it with armpits?
Will you or will you not be shaving your armpits this summer?
I quite like a slightly hairy armpit.
Yeah, you know, and then the whole article was about all the different reasons. Well, some women are, some women aren't. And you know, it's not just the hair; it's all things like discoloration. You know, your armpit is supposed to be like, my armpit's always been like, it always goes out. You know, and you know those armpits that go in, and you know when I was like so like dysmorphic, like my armpits, I never got my arms out because my armpits went out. Really? Instead of it, the madness, Mark, you would not believe the madness that we go through
around armpit shape.
Armpits, just everything you can be told is wrong. I remember being told by a cousin of mine that, oh God, you can't have your elbows out now. It's horrible at your age because, like at dinner and stuff, other people don't want to see your elbows. Like, fucking hell, have I now got to think about my elbows?
They're funny things, though, elbows, aren't they? I mean, I'm not saying from a sort of specific gender body shaming perspective, but an elbow. What does anyone else think an elbow looks like an elephant's forehead? It's a similar sort of skin.
A little bit.
Do you know what I mean? So
just every year, many of us, and I know I did for many, many years, would start to rev up. Oh, look, people are using, I saw on social media, people using concealer and foundation to armpits.
What?
Yeah.
Foundation on your armpits?
So armpits aren't darker. Your armpits are supposed to be white.
Hang on. But armpits will always be lighter than the rest of your body because.
But some people have got discoloration, so theirs aren't always. So what are you saying? Why are you saying that? No. But I'm saying that's the fucking madness of it. You can have discoloration anywhere on your body.
Right.
So this is what I mean. This is what it gets down to, you know.
My God.
Oh my God.
I don't think I've ever once thought about my armpits.
Yeah, but why would you? You're a man.
Why
do you keep saying this? But you don't have the same pressure with your armpits.
That's my point. Male privilege.
Privilege.
Yeah, okay, exactly. Don't shoot me down for acknowledging it.
No, but you're going like this. Oh,
I was sitting here thinking, my God, how bizarre that in 52 years of life, I've not once thought about the optics of my armpits. And women, there is this entire reservoir of fear, worry, stress, and you're not acknowledging it.
You're not kidding. And then some people will get their armpits waxed, and then they don't want to show their armpits because then you can get the little lumps, and then you look like you've got chicken skin under your armpits. This is a place in your body where 99% of the time nobody is seeing it.
Yes. And lots of people don't want to see them.
So there you go.
Because they can sometimes be a bit smelly.
That's the kind of madness. There's a good advert on armpits on TV. Sorry, Mark just moved it. Armpits, the chimney of the body, clearing the toxins from the lymph. What a lovely... Oh, sorry, it keeps jumping away. Lymph. If they're blocked, toxicity will go inside. Yucky. Ocean Therapy London. Lovely.
Elsa Pop, defo shaving. Hate how many people think women have been brainwashed into shaving. I just prefer having no hair.
That's actually a really good point, Elsa, because sometimes But then we get into the question of how much of that has been just given to us by osmosis, that the reason we like clean shaven armpits is because we've always been told that for women it's dirty, and people will say, well, it's just disgusting, isn't it? So, I mean, not everywhere, because in many other countries
isn't it terrible, the culturally received kind of stereotypes we have? If I think of an unshaven armpit, I think of French.
Do you think sex?
No, I think French. I don't know why. I sort of think there's a sort of, French movies. You always got someone wandering around in a sort of scene after a sex scene. They've always got hairy armpits.
Well, yeah. Sean, there you go. There's a way to think about your hairy armpits. It's ridiculous. Business keeps finding problems with women's bodies and making new products for natural things we all have.
Yeah.
This is the thing, isn't it? It's that product thing, I mean, I remember, oh God, me and my sister being such a victim to every single thing that came out about cellulite. We used to use that awful knobbly thing, and it was the agony, and we'd rub it till our legs were almost bleeding under the skin, and then whack this stuff on. And at that point, we probably hardly had any cellulite. We spent a fortune over the years at all these different things, and
doesn't it make you just want to run rampant and just savage everyone? The pressure you've been put under as women for years.
The pressure, yeah. But also now, being the way that I am, having worked really hard for a long time to sort of shift my thinking. And don't get me wrong, I tried not to look at myself at all in whatever I was wearing by the pool, by the sea, on holiday. And I just tried to keep thinking of the warm breeze on my skin. And I said to the girls, for years and years, I've worn a swimming costume because I don't want my belly out. And actually, I don't like a swimming costume. Plenty of people do. You get into the pool and it's like wet and you're sort of pulling it off your belly, and then you're like sat in a wet swim costume. And so I try to just try to feel that warm breeze. Nobody's actually looking at me.
I am.
Unless somebody's going, well, that's her off the telly. And so actually, a lot of the holiday, I felt really good. Now, we did some funny Instagram stuff, and I had to then look at videos of my body, and I was just like, I went to that place like, oh my God,
you look great.
No, listen, it's not about it's what you feel.
No,
it is what you feel and what you think. So I went to that place of, oh my God, so I've been looking disgusting all week. That's what the voice came in and said. Oh my God, you've been looking that disgusting. That's what I said. And then I immediately went, how dare you? He was just standing there. I didn't know I was having this whole conversation, but how dare you treat yourself like that? Because what I do is I imagine that that's somebody saying that to my friend who's standing here, or my daughter, or to a vulnerable young girl. And what is my response? How dare you talk to her like that? How dare you? And that's what I say to myself. How dare you? Why are you doing that? Why are you ruining your day? Why are you going to fucking ruin your day? Why are you probably going to go to lunch and not have that piece of bread and butter that you want because you looked so disgusting? This is the key. This has been the key for me to stop that toxicity. I started to trip into it this summer. Oh my God, we're going away. We went away to Spain. What am I going to do? How can I get a flat stomach? Well, I've never had a fucking flat stomach. I'm never going to have a flat stomach. But what I do want is a strong enough stomach to support my back so that I don't have back problems. And so, the summer, if you can shift this, I'm telling you now, if you hate your body, right, there is nothing that you are going to do that is going to make you look in the mirror before your holiday and go, wow, my body's looking great. So if somebody's trying to sell you a shake, if somebody's trying to sell you a intense program, if somebody's trying to tell you, sell you a half starvation diet, you are not going to do it and get to a place where you look in the mirror and go, oh, I'm now body confident. You're not. The way to rethink the whole summer body shit is to think the sun is out, or sometimes wow, and please bear with me on this. I know you'll want to switch off, but just think, how can I feel better? Because if you do everything you can to feel better, going into the detail of how you look look. People say to me all the time, "Oh my God, you're looking so well. Oh my God, you've lost so much weight. Oh my God, you're da da da." This is what I've done. When people ask me what have I done, I'm constantly working to feel better. So I'm eating well. I'm exercising, doing the exercise that I love. Don't do exercise you hate because you won't. Keeping consistent with that. Looking after my gut, doing all of that, using nice, doing lovely things with my skin, trying to look after my hair, doing all these things makes me feel better. Deep breathing, yoga, not allowing toxic thoughts in. I feel better. So my energy is better. And then immediately you're more fun to be around, aren't you? But going on a starvation diet, going on an exercise plan that you can't maintain will make you feel tireder, weaker, more miserable. You'll have spent money you didn't fucking have, and you'll have played into the hands of the corporations that want to make money out of our insecurities and make us question, is my armpit the right fucking colour?
Okay, the lady hath spoken.
Oh, shut up.
No. This is, everyone's highly motivated and inspired. Where I get really confused in all of this is you say that it doesn't matter what people say. And then you say, and so I start to not say it, because whenever I do compliment you, you are so quick in just saying it doesn't matter. You don't ever take a compliment.
No, that's not true.
No, hang on.
No, that's not true. What I was talking about is
truth.
No, let me just finish, please, because what I meant was when I'm in that toxic moment, but I work really hard at saying thank you to people all the time now when they give me a compliment. But it is a job of work. Every time somebody says it, I have to go, don't go to, oh no, I'm not.
No, but you're not in the best position to know how you deal with compliments on a sort of, in our relationship or in a sort of everyday situation. And so you're right. When you said earlier, well, you don't say it as much. When I do say it, and I was saying it a lot when we were on holiday, and when I do say it, there is, even if you don't say it or don't say it, there is an attitude where I can see it discomforts you, and I can see that you think it's just not particularly honest or accurate or something like that. So it disincentivizes the desire to pay a compliment.
Can I just say, I genuinely didn't feel that on holiday. No. I had that one bad day, but I kept saying to you, do you know what? Yeah, I am. I do look good. I'm 60 next year. I'm looking after myself.
But that's my point. I think you should trust it when people say it, because it's really difficult, isn't it? Because on the one hand, you have really physically worked on yourself. You can see changes and you can see differences. That doesn't mean that you weren't any more or less attractive.
Exactly.
Before that.
That's what I'm saying.
But I can see the comfort in you, and I can see a confidence in you.
I think you're missing my point. What I mean is, it has to come from inside. And when I say that, I don't mean you've got to love yourself, because that's bollocks. It's really fucking hard to love yourself. So let's just say that's the top of the mountain that most of us can't reach. But it is about caring, being really angry when you're horrible to you, taking shit from yourself that you wouldn't take from somebody else. Somebody else came into your fucking house and said to you, oh God, is that how you've been looking all week? You throw them out. Throw those voices out of your head. Don't let people make money out of you. That is just going to leave you in a worse place. And why I kept wanting to interrupt you there, I'm saying, when you're in the toxic moment, you are blinded to the compliment and to the reassurance. You are blinded because you're in the adrenaline, the cortisol of going, I'm this. And it's really hard to get out of it,
Okay. Well, I think you need to keep working on accepting the compliments.
Oh, of course. Yeah, it's a daily
because you look fantastic. Problem. You look absolutely fantastic. You look gorgeous. Can I just say quickly, I just want to make a note. Jay Freedom, really important point. Absolutely. All these stories, red meat to distract from, Boris, etc. Just quickly, Barbie premiere last night. Thought it'd just be nice to have a little bit of pinkiness. That's Dua Lipa there. All looking lovely. I forget her name. There's Margot. Lovely Margot.
I didn't have a Barbie doll. I had
Ryan.
A Tressie doll, and you could press her belly button and her hair would come out. Did anyone have a Tressie doll?
I just used to look at Barbie dolls' knickers. Sam Smith.
Whenever I used to go to anyone's house
dressed for the occasion,
where there was little boys, I would immediately look for their action men and pull their trousers off. Me and
Well,
Dean
there you
used to do
go.
that
Yeah,
all
I
the
don't think
time.
it's odd. I mean, as a kid, it was your first, especially as kids in our generation, there was nothing else to look for. The disappointment of pulling up a Barbie dress and just seeing the word Barbie printed into
one time when me and my sister
and there's
went
the
round,
director, Greta Gerwig.
once when we went round to my mum and dad's friends who had these 2 boys, and we were saying, oh, they've got nothing. When you take the action trousers off, there's nothing there. And they were like, it was the same with Barbie dolls. And we said, do you want to give us 50p and we'll show you our knickers?
Did you? Fantastic. Can we do that later?
Hang on just one second, because I don't want to forget this.
Sorry.
Kirsty Wade, thank you so much. She said that you were approximately 79 kilos, so I could lift you with just my buttocks.
Oh, okay. How does she know?
Because you gave her the weight and she
went
off
I see.
And did
Oh,
it.
right.
Thank
Okay.
you,
Well done.
Wade.
Thank you. Okay. Well, you just saw there just some of the photos from the Barbie premiere that we weren't at.
Did any of you have a Tressie doll? That's what I want to know.
I had an action man. And I had a bionic man.
I
had a bionic man. He was great. And you would look through the back of his eye.
I had a bionic man. I loved my bionic man because I was obsessed with bionic man and bionic woman.
He had a red jumpsuit and he would lift an engine.
And he did have I don't know about the engine, but I remember his eye.
Yeah, you'd look through his eye and you couldn't see anything.
Oh God, I absolutely loved the bionic man.
No, Crossroads.
Yeah.
Forgetting it or Emmerdale. Anyway, quickly, belated birthday to Bev Hartnell.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Bev. Happy birthday to you. Cindy dolls, Victoria, forgot about. What was the difference with the Cindy doll? Were they cheaper than the Barbie dolls?
Someone had a Hulk in a cage. I wonder if
it was No, there was. Barbie started in the 60s, didn't she?
Barbie started in the
when was Barbie born? Would we? I know we didn't get a real Barbie, but was that because she wasn't about, or because it was too expensive? Because my mum was very frugal.
Tressie and Cindy dolls, Karen Taylor.
Well, you had a Tressie doll.
Oh, look, someone's saying, will you be seeing? Oh, Sean Tucker, will you be seeing Oppenheimer or Barbie first? I want to do the Oppenheimer Barbie double bill that people are talking about. Is it Barbenheimer? The idea that Warner Brothers are releasing 2 films on the same day, one about the nuclear bomb and one about Barbie. And apparently it's becoming a big social media trend is how are you going to do your D? So lots of people are saying they're going to see Oppenheimer first, then come out, have some cocktails, and then go into Barbie and then go dancing. That's how they're going to...
I wouldn't want to do those 2 on the same day.
Oh, I don't know.
I don't like 2 films in the same day.
Cillian Murphy has said that he really wants people to double bill it. But what I love is that the really serious sort of... Well, no, they're all serious filmmakers. Greta Gerwig is a fabulous filmmaker.
Oh, shit, I love her.
I love the way in which totally... But anyway, Barbie the movie is not going to be what we think Barbie the movie is. It's not a Barbie film. It's going to be about politics. It's going to be about gender. It's going to be about all those sorts of things. Anyway, obviously the Emmys were announced. Something will be landing on the Popcorn Junkies about that. So have a good day, guys.